President Uhuru Kenyatta has met NASA leader Raila Odinga for the first time since last year's general election. The two leaders held a consultative dialogue at President's office in Harambee House here in Nairobi. Both the Jubilee Party and the NASA coalition have been pulling apart over the credibility of last year's general election, in which President Uhuru Kenyatta was declared winner after NASA boycotted the October 26th presidential election rerun. NASA responded with a controversial swearing-in of Raila Odinga as the people's president, leading to arrest of several opposition leaders over treason allegations.
My brother and myself have therefore come together today to say this dissent stops here. We refuse to allow our diversity to kill our nation. We refuse to be the leaders under whose watch Kenya's lead into a failed nation. This is a call to self-reflection. We have to look into ourselves and challenge our readiness to make the changes that will allow our institutional reforms to work. So long as we remain divided, acrimonious, selfish, and corrupt, no amount of institutional reform will better our lives. The reform process will become an exercise in diverting attention from our own failings and taking refuge in the blame game. We therefore seek your partnership in this initiative, fellow Kenyans. We are all sailing in this one ship. We must come together to scoop out the water that has been sipping, or we shall capsize.
We have a responsibility as leaders to be able to come together to discuss these issues and to find solutions. Solutions that will bind our people together, that will unify our country, and that will give us a life cycle that is beyond the 5 years that we have established for ourselves. Elections come and go, but Kenya remains. So as we plan ourselves for the future, our future cannot be dictated by the forthcoming election. Our future must be dictated by the prosperity, stability of our nation and the well-being of our people. Democracy is not, as has often been said, an end in itself. It is just a process by which the will of the people is heard, but the national good, the national interest must always prevail over those elections. And this is what me and my brother have agreed, that starting today, we will begin a process of bringing our people together, that we will begin a process of discussing what ails us and what creates division amongst us.
Well, that's the joint press briefing I was telling you about between Raila Odinga, that is the NASA lead, and President Uhuru Kenyatta, where they both shook hands after that briefing and promised to unite the country moving forward. Now, just to tell us more on this developing story, I'm now joined by our senior political reporter, Duncan Khaemba, who is still at Harambee House, where that briefing just ended. Khaemba, good afternoon, and what are some of the highlights for you in that briefing first?
Yes, Yusuf, thank you. And you'll have to admit that, yes, indeed, change is in the air. And they say in politics, no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, but only interests. President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga declaring that their differences, perceived and real, has to end today. They've buried the hatchet before the media, before the international media, local media, and said that they are charting new way forward. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta said that we be given a document or a comprehensive press release that will be giving us more details as to what they have actually discussed. And we are looking at the framework that they've jointly agreed going forward. Remember, they've said that they will not allow under their watch their differences to lead Kenya into a failed state. And that's why they've said today, henceforth, Kenya marks a new beginning, a rebirth of a nation. The document that they've shared, they're indicating that they've agreed to roll out a program that will implement their shared objectives. And this document, they have mandated both Ambassador Martin Kimani and Raila Odinga's advocate Paul Mwangi to oversee the establishment of this program. An official launch shall be held soon. They are saying President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, they are proud to be Kenyans. They stand together as friends and compatriots in the great work of building a strong and united Kenya. Therefore, they've agreed on a strategy or an objective that they'll have to roll out as part of healing and reconciling the nation, in which Ambassador Martin Kimani and Paul Mwangi will be part and parcel to it. Those are some of the fine details that we are trying to get out of this 8-page document that has been shared. Yusuf.
Well, Khaemba, I don't know about you, but most people, including me, didn't see this coming. And I remember some time back, the acting Assistant Secretary of State of African Affairs from the U.S. Called on, for dialogue between these two main protagonists. Of course, that did not happen. So is there a relationship between the U.S. Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson visit, and whatever took place today at Harambee House?
We believe there has to be a direct correlation, because it is not a coincidence that on the day U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is visiting Kenya, that the two leaders are actually meeting. Remember that these are individuals who had stuck to their guns and everyone was charting their way forward. The issue of dialogue had been pushed. Proponents were NASA. Jubilee had said outrightly no, and it was all about, after NASA boycotted the election, Jubilee participated in what NASA came to call as an opinion poll, but Jubilee gracefully went through that and formed government. NASA refused to be part and parcel to allow its members to vet nominees to the cabinet. They've refused, they've totally tried to paralyze the government's agenda in Parliament, a clear divide that had manifested itself. And therefore it was business as usual. Jubilee was going ahead with its work. NASA was going ahead with their own. Therefore, this has come as a surprise. Nobody saw it coming. And the fact that on Monday NASA principals met to chart way forward, and top of the agenda, they were now rolling out their next battlefront, being the review, the boundary review that is supposed to be conducted later in the year. And as usual, they had singled out IBC as casualty number one, that they'll have to make sure that they knock them out of their way. And therefore, 4 days later, for the two leaders to meet and say whatever has been their differences, perceived and real, ends here, and the country has to witness a rebirth of a nation, this has come as a shocker. Therefore, nobody knew it. And the fact that President Uhuru's principal deputy, William Ruto, was missing in the picture, Raila's comrades in NASA were missing in the picture, that clearly tells you perhaps the meeting has come as a surprise. And more so, I don't think that it could be coincidence that they are meeting today, the day that the U.S. top diplomat will be visiting the country in a few hours now.
One final question, does this signal some sort of a beginning of a national dialogue, bearing in mind that, the Jubilee MPs and leaders who are on record saying that, opposition leaders are only interested in sharing power. On the other hand, Raila has been saying as an opposition leader that he's only interested in electoral justice. Are we seeing some sort of a national dialogue taking shape now?
I really don't know whether there will be a national dialogue. They've clearly said that a part of the statement, if I'm to give you a line, they've said that they know that their differences has a direct correlation. Actually, they are saying His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga are the two leaders who symbolize the many ways in which the country has gone full circle in its divisions. Have gone a full circle in its division. So they know that perhaps they've been part of the problem by default or by design, but they've said they know that they've decided to bury the hatchet, close ranks, and announce to the nation a new beginning at this very place where in 2008 we also saw Raila Odinga shake hands with President Mwai Kibaki when the National Accord was ratified. And therefore, the fact that the two leaders have confessed that they know it's there because of their divisions, that the country was slowly gravitating towards a failed state, they've decided that has to end here and today in Raila's words. And therefore, the fact that the two have met, I don't think we might be witnessing another national dialogue, but unless if they'll decide upon themselves that to bring other stakeholders on board and give them an undertaking that they've buried the hatchet and the country has to move forward. But as far as that national dialogue is concerned, I think we've just witnessed that dialogue taking place. Therefore, we'll be waiting to see if there'll be more coming, more so when they've already said that they've agreed on the program they're going to roll out to achieve this newfound love, new integration, new cohesion for the nation. Therefore, in as far as that issue is concerned, the differences, they seem to have already agreed. If Raila Odinga brought on board the message from NASA in totality, then it's as good as saying the two protagonists have already struck consensus on way forward. So we are not so sure whether there will be another call for national dialogue. Yusuf.
Thank you very much, Khaimba, for that comprehensive